When you first open Trust Yourself, you encounter the sense that something fundamental has been missing from modern life. The author paints a world much like the one most of us know too well, a world buzzing with messages about how we should look, act, perform, and achieve, leaving our inner voice overshadowed by outside expectations. People are overwhelmed not just by tasks but by uncertainty about their own judgment, and this uncertainty breeds fear deep within their hearts. Ryan gently suggests that the root of this worry isn't external forces alone, but a deeper disconnection from oneself, a lack of self-trust. She walks you through the idea that trusting yourself is not some airy, feel-good concept, but a practical inner resource. At its core, self-trust means believing you can handle life as it comes, learning from experience without collapsing into self-criticism, and making decisions that are aligned with your own truths instead of others' prescriptions. She doesn't just define it, she brings it to life with stories of real people learning to quiet inner critics, to let go of the voices that say, "You're not enough," and to listen instead to the wisdom they've long ignored. Ryan emphasizes that self-trust involves three interconnected qualities: self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-reliance. These aren't lofty abstractions but practical capacities you can cultivate. Self-awareness means knowing who you are at a deep level. Your preferences, your values, your patterns. This awareness, she shows, is like shining light into a room you've lived in for years without opening the blinds. Suddenly the ledgers of your life make sense, and choices that once seemed impossible become clear. Self-confidence in Ryan's framework isn't blind optimism, but the steady belief that your inner compass works and can be consulted. She shares how people often chase confidence from the outside, through titles, validation, or perfection, but true confidence is rooted in trusting your own track record of navigating life's twists. It's the confidence that remains calm in the face of failure, because failure becomes feedback rather than a verdict on one's worth. Then comes self-reliance, which Ryan describes as the ability to act on what you know about yourself without incessant second-guessing or dependency on external approval. It's waking up one morning and daring to make your choice because it feels right in your bones, not because some checklist or expert told you it's the correct path. It's the confidence to say no when a request burdens your spirit, and yes when an opportunity aligns with your deepest intentions. Through the book, she tells relatable stories that show how individuals who once sought security in perfectionism or external affirmation began to transform their inner world. One person learns to stop consulting friends for every decision and starts noticing that their own choices were wiser than expected. Another discovers that embracing life's imperfections frees up emotional space. Suddenly mistakes don't feel like indictments, but like signposts pointing the way forward. These stories aren't just feel-good anecdotes, they illustrate how self-trust can become lived experience. Ryan also challenges the idea that we must know all the answers before acting. She writes vividly about the moment when a woman learning to trust herself had to decide between a safe career path and a dream opportunity. The fear was immense, but rather than letting fear dictate the outcome, she learned to see fear as a sign she was approaching a growing edge, a concept Ryan uses to reframe discomfort as growth potential. In the narrative arc of the book, every practice Ryan introduces is grounded in experiential wisdom, small, consistent acts of looking inward, listening deeply, and responding honestly. One chapter takes you into the simple but profound practice of noticing your bodily reactions, the way your chest tightens when you think about a choice versus how it expands when you imagine something that lights you up. These embodied cues, she explains, are often more honest than the chatter in your mind. As you continue, the book shifts from awareness to action. Ryan invites you to test your self-trust through daily decisions, choosing what to say yes to, deciding where to invest emotional energy, and noticing when you let external voices crowd out your own. She doesn't pretend this is easy, she tells of her own struggles and missteps, infusing her guidance with a kind of humble companionship. It feels as though a mentor is gently holding your hand, reminding you that stumbling doesn't disqualify you from trust, it is part of the process. A striking part of the journey she narrates comes when people begin to report unexpected inner peace. They find that anxiety loosens its grip when they stop trying to control every outcome and start acting from a place of grounded self-awareness. Choices become less paralyzing, meaning emerges more naturally, and life feels less like a performance and more like an unfolding story to be engaged with honestly. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but Ryan shows that each tiny step toward trusting yourself nudges you closer to a life that feels authentically yours. Ryan also brings in historical and philosophical voices, thinkers who understood the ancient wisdom of trusting one's inner guidance, and contrasts them with today's culture of external validation. These interwoven reflections give the narrative a sense of depth, showing that self-trust is both a timeless aspiration and a practical discipline. Her use of quotes and stories from past sages creates a lineage, a conversation across time about what it means to live from the inside out. Toward the end of the book, you witness how self-trust ripples outward into relationships and creativity. People who once feared being disliked learn that their authenticity actually deepens connection. Creative projects that stalled under self-doubt find new life when the creator trusts their own voice instead of chasing trends. Life's messiness, once a source of embarrassment, becomes fertile ground for resilience and imagination. The emotional arc of the book carries you from uncertainty to a sense of inner alignment. You start to see decisions not as dangers but as dialogues with your own evolving wisdom. You learn to meet fear not as a blockade but as a companion on the path of growth. You see mistakes not as failures but as teachers, revealing what matters and what doesn't. By the final pages, Ryan's voice guides you into a broader understanding. Trusting yourself isn't about becoming flawless or unshakable. It's about being present with your life, with all its uncertainties, and meeting it from a place of compassion for yourself. It's about believing that the inner wisdom you've been trained to ignore is actually your most reliable guide.